number one step is always research. So you want to don't even address or approach a media outlet until you've watched the show, read the blog, listened to the podcast, read the magazine, become familiar with what the content is. Is it lighthearted? Is it serious? What are they looking for in content? Become familiar with the questions, because the questions give you clues to what the audience is listening for and what the host wants to give their audience.
So welcome.
Thank you.
Baila.
Baila or Baila? It's usually Baila.
What do you prefer?
Baila.
Okay, what's your last name?
Lazarus.
Lazarus.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like back from the dead. That's what my last name means.
You know, I was just talking to somebody this weekend who made that reference.
Yeah.
And it's surprising how many people don't get that reference.
Really?
Yeah. Don't know Lazarus, doesn't mean anything.
Don't know
to
the
them.
story.
Don't know the story. Yeah.
Anyway, I know the story. And anyway, welcome.
Thank
welcome.
you.
I'm so happy that you decided to say yes and be my guest.
Glad to be here.
In the show. So Baila, can you? I haven't said anything about what you do.
Nope. We haven't
But I
talked at
remember
all.
the first time I met you was through a networking event. We were sitting at the same table, and you just briefly explained what you did, and my antennas went, ah! I need to know this woman more, and I need to. I want to find out more about you and exactly what you do, because I feel it's such a strong need out there for people who are either starting a business or are in business and just feeling like the struggle of being noticed.
Yeah.
So can you share with our audience what it is that you do?
So we'll start with just that. My whole background in life is journalism.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I've been in media. I've been a producer, writer, editor, radio, television, newspapers, and most recently locally at Business in Vancouver. So with a background in journalism like that, I was the person getting all the media pitches. So any business who wanted to be on media, wanted to get publicity, would send their story to me. Or PR companies who were working for media, for businesses who wanted to be in media, would send their pitches to me. Mm-hmm. And I began to see that when a small business would try and pitch a story to me, if they didn't have the expertise, they didn't know how to do it. Mm. So about 4 years ago, I started teaching at Small Business BC in Vancouver, and then doing my own courses, just showing businesses, startups, small businesses, big businesses, everything that they didn't know about pitching to media. Even PR specialists with exceptional professional backgrounds were missing little secrets on how to get into that box and have their email be open, because email is still the way people pitch stories to media. So now what I do is explain how media works, like what's going on in my head as an editor when I'm sitting there and I've got a newspaper or magazine, or I've got an online magazine, or I'm a producer at a radio station or TV station. How do I think? What are the ideas that I need for stories? What am I looking for in a story? What will get you into a news magazine show? What will get you into a consumer magazine? And I put together courses, and essentially that's what I show businesses how to do. And now it's even expanding, where beyond just getting into traditional media, if you can access other types of media channels, like social media channels that belong to other people, you can expand your outreach. Like it's infinitely, because, you know, if you connect with a blogger and you can be a guest blogger, and they've already set up their following, they already have following of tens of thousands, then why not? So for me, it's a matter of getting every single possibility of reaching out to different media channels so you get the most exposure that you can for your business.
So as an editor receiving, can you just share what is the worst, that the worst kind of pitches that, you know, the editors get that you just go, I don't even want to look at this? Is it the length of them? Is it just that first line? Is it the header? What is it that is a turnoff?
So I think there are maybe three. The first is when people put that cutesy email subject line. What
do you mean by cutesy?
Well, it's like, I don't know, it doesn't really mean anything. So like, diamonds are a girl's best friend.
Okay.
And I look at that and go, what does this mean? Do I even, I don't even want to take a few seconds to open and read an email if it's not for me, if it's not for my media outlet. And if you just put a subject line in that you think is going to grab attention and it doesn't actually speak to what the story is, it drives the recipients crazy. Now, if I look at that, I might think, okay, this is a story about diamonds. I open it up. No, it doesn't have to do with diamonds. It was just a catchphrase meant to get attention. You are in my trash box, and I will not be opening anything else from you because I won't trust you. The second thing is when they are long, for sure. So one of the emails that sent me on this quest was sent from a colleague who will remain anonymous. He was putting on an event, so it was a press release, and it was a solid text, a solid paragraph of text, like, I don't know, 800 words of just solid text, no white space or anything. And I looked at this, I went, oh my God, I don't have time to read this. Like, you know, like everybody, our email boxes are full, even more so in the last 5 years. So if you're sending an email, getting it open and having it read really quickly is essential. And he had some good ideas, but they were just buried. That's what pretty much where I said, you know what, I need to help somebody like this, entrepreneurs, small business owners, or anybody who's sending in lengthy text heavy emails. And so I actually said to him, I emailed him back because I knew him from networking. I said, look, I will rewrite your whole press release the way it's supposed to be, and you can send it out. In return, I'm going to use this as a bad example in my classes. And it has been a staple in pretty much every seminar and webinar I've given for the last 4 years. So that's the second thing, too much text. And then the third thing is when people send in rambling emails that they just give like background. They start off with, you know, I started my business 5 years ago, and the reason I started my business, why, and I'm sitting there thinking, get to the point. Yeah, it's nice to know why you did what you did, but you can put that lower down in the background. The top part of an email when you're pitching is, why should I and my audience care? Like if you were, somebody were to reach out to you, you would be thinking, is it good for my audience, right? If it doesn't match what my audience wants, there's no point. But what if you had to read through 2 or 3 paragraphs just to see if that was the case? And then you found out, no, it wasn't. You just wasted your time.
Get straight to the point.
Get to the point. And there are very simple ways to do that. If you understand, again, what the different media outlets are looking for in the pitches, and it varies from TV to radio to...
So how do you find out? Like, how do you find out what a certain station is looking for? Like, if you're an outsider, let's just say I'm starting a business and I have this great idea that the world needs to know about, but how do I know which venue is the best and which, like, what they're looking for, so that I can go straight to the right place versus the wrong place?
Yeah, so number one step is always research. So you want to don't even address or approach a media outlet until you've watched the show, read the blog, listened to the podcast, read the magazine, become familiar. So if I were to reach out to a podcast host, I would probably listen to 3 or 4 podcasts from beginning to end, like the whole things. Even if they're an hour, listen to them. Become familiar with what the content is. Is it lighthearted? Is it serious? What are they looking for in content? Become familiar with the questions, because the questions give you clues to what the audience is listening for and what the host wants to give their audience. If it's a magazine, pretty simple. If you go to a store and pick up a magazine, flip through it, go online and look at back issues. If it's a TV show, watch the TV show. I can't tell you how many people say, I want to be on Global Morning News. And I say, okay, so which part of the show? And they say, oh, there's more than one part? I'm like, yeah, there is. It's a 3-hour show. So you need to know, like, are you there as an expert in science? Are you there as a consumer person? Do you want to show how to get fit on a trampoline? Like, what part of the show? And then they say, oh, well, I actually don't have a television.
Oh, so they haven't even seen
They
the
haven't
show.
seen so they know it's out there,
Yeah.
but they haven't even watched it. So I said, no, I'm not even gonna work with you, because I take on clients to help them. I'm not gonna work with you if you haven't even seen the show. And you can go on to their site, go on to Global online, and they have recordings of different parts of the show. So you don't actually have to own a television, but at least do your research. So you could say, oh, you know what? Here's a link to the kind of interview that I want to do. So you can give a sense of, yeah, this is a 5-minute interview, and it was about, family life, getting ready for school, or something like that. I get a sense of the kind of person you are and what kind of interview you want to do. So it's really about research to see where you're going to fit in and what they're looking for. Now, here's a secret that a lot of people don't know, even PR companies. When it comes
I like
to
secrets. I like secrets
and the
a lot.
funny thing is, it's not even a private secret. If you know where to go, you can find it. If you go to a magazine or newspaper, and I'll use businesses in Vancouver as a typical example, most business papers, like weekly papers all over North America, they have what's called an editorial calendar. So they have every single week a section that focuses on a specific topic. And they vary from newspaper to newspaper. So some examples might be human resources, tech, environmental issues, small business issues, and then they get into heavier issues like mining and forestry. And what happens in the fall, late fall, the editorial and marketing department get together and say, okay, what are the sections that we're going to have for the year? The sections help them sell ads. So if they're focusing on, environmentalism, for example, in a section, the ad department can go reach out to green companies. So it's a kind of combination of good content about green topics, which enables the sales department to get ads. That's why they create them. And what they do is they create the entire list at the end, like in December, for the following year. And those lists are on their sites. They can be downloaded for free, just like that. So you can see upcoming all year what their special sections are going to be. So I'll give you a very specific example of how this works. I had a guy in my class, one of the courses that I taught, whose family has a resort, and they wanted to get some publicity. So we worked to come up with, I said, well, what's new? What's going on in your resort? And they were developing a way to grow their business. I said, okay, so that's pretty interesting. How would resorts grow? What their challenges are? Upcoming in Business in Vancouver, just a few weeks after that course, there's a section on travel and tourism, and hospitality and tourism. And I know hospitality and tourism relates to hotels, restaurants, and so on. So I helped him put together his pitch. He puts in the subject line, hospitality and tourism section, story idea. And so when the editor is scanning through, remember I said the subject line has to tell them that it's for them? The editor scans through, they see hospitality and tourism story idea, boom. They're going to open it because they have coming up a section they have to fill. And so if you can relate what you've got in terms of a topic to what the editor is looking for, it's win-win. The editor is going to love you. If the story is thought out, like there's some good transferable lessons, that's how you get in. So that's a really powerful way of getting in. I would say, if you have a subject line like that that really hits on a key issue, 99% chance it's going to be opened. So that's the number one hurdle you've crossed. And then if you show in the first couple of paragraphs what those lessons are and why the audience would care, you're going to get a call back.
Okay, so what happens if like I've been able to get press releases out there. So and I've heard back from the papers. Sometimes I've had to call them and say, I sent your press release a
Good.
few weeks ago.
Very good.
Just double checking you got it.
Yeah.
You know, let me know if you have any questions. So I wanted to ask you, is that a good thing to do?
Yeah, no,
your reactions
don't
tell
bug
me that was
crazy.
probably the right thing to do. But.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So things happen. You know, they end up in spam. You could do everything right in a press release, and there just happens to be, you know, an inundation of email that week. They didn't get to it, and you know how once, depending on which way your emails go, it drops below the bottom, and you see, you know, these emails, and yours is a little further down. Maybe you sent it on the wrong day. So if you can, it's not that hard. When it comes to a weekly or monthly publication, number one, try and connect with the editor to find out when's the best day or time of the month to send you a pitch. So monthly magazines also have editorial calendars. There's a locally produced one called Vita. It's online, and it also has a print section. And they have on their site every month all the different topics that they're going to be looking for stories on. So if I know, what do we know, August, so if I know that there's an interesting section coming up in December, maybe gift ideas, right? Let's say you have a new product and you want to get a gift idea. I would email the editor and say, when are you accepting story pitches for your gift idea section in December? That tells the editor you've done your research, you're pitching something that's going to be valuable, so they're going to take the time to answer. And then they'll just email and tell you, yeah, I'm not looking at them now, maybe send it to me, you know, 2 months ahead. Oh, and here's another trick. This is a good one.
Here's another one.
This is like 100% response rate. If you have a question like that, in the subject line, put quick question about, and then 2 words. So quick question about deadlines, or quick question about something, and then put 1 sentence in. Because if I see in the subject line, quick question, I know it's going to take me a minute to answer. And if you're one of those people that want to get your emails out of your inbox, you'll open that. And there's probably something that you're going to help somebody with very quickly. It's to the point. It's got that feeling of accomplishment, and it's not going to take a lot of time. Every time I have sent quick question to any media outlet, I get a response like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I've had my students do that too, and they're like, wow, I did not know it was so easy. But don't piss off the media outlet. If you say quick question, do not send a whole paragraph or a list. Make it 1 simple question. That's it. So when are you accepting pitches for your December section on gift ideas? And they'll email back and say, send it to me, you know, October 1st or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So how long are your courses? Like when people come to you, like what are your services? What exactly do you offer your clients in your training?
So I start out with free webinars. I want to give the information away as much as possible so people get a feel for how easy it is. Because a lot of people...
I like that. How easy it is. So I think most entrepreneurs feel like it's this overwhelming, oh, I got to write a press release and they're not going to read it, or it's going to be hard to get their attention.
Yeah, there's always a feeling like I'm going to waste my time by doing this effort. And surprisingly, if you knew the difference between what an hour of effort will give you reaching out to media versus an hour of effort of maybe posting on Twitter or something, or writing the blog that goes up on your LinkedIn or something like that, you would find it's extraordinary how much more attention you can get, how much more outreach you can get by just spending that same hour and pitching. So I have a free webinar that people can drop in on to just get an overview. I offer giveaways like free templates, so it shows you how to structure different kinds of press releases.
It's very generous.
For me, you know, it takes they're already done because I've worked with clients, and so I use samples and I use templates together so you could see how other people have done them and have been successful. And I always get my clients' permission. You know, like this guy who pitched to hospitality and tourism, I said, would it be okay if I used your press release, or it's actually a media pitch for a sample? And he said, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so there's a difference between a
Yeah, I
press
just
release
realized
and
I would do
a,
that.
and a media
I knew that
pitch.
question was coming.
Like,
So I actually there's identify 5 different types of pitches.
okay.
So a press release is, and I'll get back to the courses, by the way, in a second. So the press release is when you have an event, a specific thing happening, a book launch, an event happening, a marathon, a whatever. If there's a date, there's an occurrence, and you will be either asking for media attention before the event so that you can publicize the event, or you'll be asking them to come to the event.
Right.
Or if that didn't work, after the event, if there's some big success story or something you want to relate, then you're going to send it out afterwards. The media pitch, what I call a heads up pitch, that's when you just want to let media know you're out there. So if you have an expertise, one of my clients had his expertise in CRM, which is customer resource management, and he just sent a pitch out that said, hey, I'm available if you ever need an expert in this field. So there's no particular event, there's no date reference. It's just that you don't necessarily know if the editor or producer are thinking of doing a story later on. And just in case they need an expert, you want your name to be on their list. You can't expect them to find you with a Google search, and they may not even be taking the time to do that. So that's a heads up pitch. Then there's the expert pitch. So you have a specific topic, like a blog, and you want to put it into a specific section. So you say, I'd like to write a column for your small business section on this and this topic. So that's a very directed pitch. You know exactly what you want to do. You know there's a section coming up, and you're going to be an expert in that section. Then I have the author pitch. Now, when it comes to books and author, do not pitch the book, pitch the author.
Don't pitch the book,
don't
pitch the author.
That's right. In Business in Vancouver, if it's still the same, there are a series of filing cabinets on which are stacks and stacks and stacks of unopened business books that nobody had ever read. They send in a book and they say, hey, look, I've got a new book. Well, we don't have the time to read it. And there are far fewer people doing book reviews now because you can get so much information on the internet. Instead, you want to focus on the expertise of the author. And if it is a new book and a book launch, use that as a hook just to say this is a timely story to do, but the real gold is in what the author is talking about. So you're still trying to pitch them like an expert, but now you've got a story hook so that the editor will see that it's a timely event, like something just happened. They don't want to wait 6 months and say, oh yeah, this book came out like last year. So they want to be able to do it fairly soon. But the quality of the pitch has to be in what the author has to say. So again, make sure you relate what the author's expertise is with what the audience is going to get. What's the compelling reason for an editor to talk to you? Then the final type of pitch is for a feature story. This is where you're not the only person in the story. You have a topic, an idea, and probably you're going to need 2 or 3 other people as part of the story. So really good example, I went to a conference this weekend called JVology. This is about joint venturing between businesses. And the speaker came to one of the local meetup groups. His name was Jay Fizette. And I was listening to him and I thought, this is kind of an interesting story, like the whole story about how businesses use joint ventures and this new concept of JVology. So if I pitched just Jay Fizette and I said, hey, this is a good guy to talk to, it's not enough. They're generally not going to do just a story on one person. So the pitch now says, here is the idea of this new kind of framework of interaction called JVology, and here are 3 people that are great. Jay Fizette was one of them. He's the expert. Imana Gay was another one that I pitched. He's somebody who also has expertise in how he uses it for his business. And then I put another person in there who is a small business operator. So I give them 4 different people to talk to. And this is why this is gold. If you just give one person, the editor then says to the writer, okay, this is a good story, now go find other people. If that takes too long, they're never going to do the story. They'll have it on the side of their desk, and they're waiting until the right time to go and do this research, and they're not going to go.
You just make it as simple as possible.
You
for
make
the
it
editor,
as simple as possible.
basically.
When you make the editor or producer's life easy, they will love you for it. If you give them good quality interviews, like the right people to talk to, and you explain how each person will add to the story, like one sentence: this person is the expert, this person is a client, this person is a third party, observer or association member that has a bit more objective view. That's it. Give them the contact information, the emails, the phone numbers. Make sure you run it by the people first, right? You don't want them to get a call and say, like, who are you? Like, I didn't contact the media. So get permission from those people first, which I did. And of course, they're always happy to. I'll have an interview. And so I sent that out last Monday. And this weekend, at least 2 out of the 3 people were already contacted by the newspaper. I haven't spoken with the third one first. So yeah, that's the feature story pitch. That's where you actually want to put names of other people in there. So those are the 5 different kinds of pitches, and I have samples and templates for all of those when I do my courses.
I never even thought of that whole range.
And neither
press
do
release is a press release.
I know, like neither do PR companies. PR companies as well. They're kind of stuck in an outdated mode where they're just pitching their client.
So what's different about you is that you were on the inside.
That's right.
So you are on the receiving end. So you're not the one helping the client just do the press release, but you just come on from the other side, seeing exactly how it's received and how it's perceived and what is trash and what is not, what is valuable.
And I just think, how would I want to receive the information? Well, if somebody's going to give me a good topic, I would want to know who else I should interview. I don't want to spend the time Googling JVology and then trying to pick somebody, like, I don't know if they're good or not. Like, I might come across a name and then I interview them and they weren't the right person. Or maybe it's a topic that's so broad, I don't even know where to start, and I could be wasting a lot of time. I've definitely had stories, numerous stories over the years, just sit by the side when I was a writer, when I was waiting for that spare time to go and find good interviews. Nobody has spare time, right? So the stories would just die. They might have even been good topics, and I just didn't get the time to find those extra interviews. And this is a big mistake. I don't know of any PR company that does this. I've never seen that. They have a good idea. They want their client to be interviewed. And of course, from the point of view of a PR company, if I'm working for a client, I'm not being paid to go promote other people.
Right.
But yet, if you brought the other people into that media pitch, your client would benefit because they would end up in the media with a good story. Now, before I forget, I did want to go back to the courses.
Yes. I was going to ask you.
So I work with Small Business BC, so I give a course once a month. October is free course month at Small Business BC.
Really? Is that every October?
Yeah, because it's Small Business Month.
Okay.
So they, as far as I know, they open up the courses, and as long as you get in there and register quickly, you don't have to pay.
For all the courses they offer?
I'm pretty sure.
Wow. Cool.
It was standing room only when I forgot. And I went to my course last October, and I walk in, I'm like, where did all these people come from? So it's a really good time to check out a lot of different courses at Small Business BC. So I teach there. Normally they have a small fee. It's like, I think it's $40 for an hour and a half. And then beyond that, if you want to get more in depth about the different media channels and learn much more about how to really pick the best media channel for you, the ins and outs of reaching to each different media channel, because there's only so much I can cover in an hour and a half, then I give a 6-week course. So that's a longer program. We have live sessions. I do Q&As every other week, so you can drop in. I've got a Facebook group for my students that's private, so you can drop into that and ask me questions. So that basically runs, well, pretty much every 2 months I repeat it.
Mm-hmm.
And usually once a quarter I do a 2 or 3 day boot camp, which covers the same material, but we get it all done over a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And then if people take it, they're interested, but they really realize, you know what, I need more kind of hand-holding or more done for you expertise, then I can take them on as a client, and I will create all the material, and then I just hand it and say, okay, now here's the list of people for you to send it to. Here are the different templates. Here's how you can fill them out, or I might fill them out for them, and you just send them out.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you do for yourself. You send them out, and if you don't hear back, I call maybe a week later to see that they got it.
So you cover it all, basically, based on who your client is and their need.
Yeah.
So if they really need your 100%, be there.
Yeah.
You can do that for them. That is awesome.
And then there's all different variations. Like, maybe there's a small business, but they do have, the owner and somebody doing marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So the person doing the marketing might take the course, and the owner and the marketing person can sit together, but it's the marketing person who actually goes and does the actual work. For PR companies, if you want to send your employees in, as I told you, there are a lot of tips that PR companies don't know about, and are very surprised when I tell them that they're allowed to do these things. And in fact, I encourage them to do these things. So you could learn a lot of things that way. And even if you just have some spare, you don't have a lot of money to spend, but you could hire like a part-time assistant, maybe somebody who's just graduated from journalism or communication school looking for work, and you put them through my program. So they learn how to do it, and they do it on your behalf. So they're not like a full-time member of your staff, but just as you would hire a social media director, you can hire what I call a broader media director. So the social media directors generally work on your own social media. What I teach is how to access other media channels.
Cool. That is so cool.
Yeah.
So is there any kind of business that you'd say that doesn't really need press release? Would you say there are types of businesses that this would not apply to them? Because I find most businesses don't use the method of getting attention from the media. So
yeah, I think so. The ones that I would say don't need it are just ones that are so big they have the publicity already. Like, and they're probably getting it either naturally, organically, and so they don't have to hire people. And I've definitely run into some, better known internet marketers. They actually prefer to buy ads. They have the money to buy ads, and they prefer to buy ads. So, and they're getting a lot of attention. And they actually say to me, I don't really think I need it because they've got all the clients you need. I mean, ultimately, if you have all the clients you need, you probably don't need publicity, unless you just want to get your brand and your name out there. But in terms of credibility, I think every company can use extra credibility. And getting a third party like a newspaper or a TV station to interview you as the expert ramps up your credibility through the roof. It's not the same as just posting in your own media channel. When you have somebody else say, yes, this person is good enough and has the expertise that we're going to put them in our media outlet ahead of anybody else, that's a credibility stamp of approval you can't duplicate. There are companies that I would say will have trouble getting media. Either they don't have the kind of information, or the way it's presented is not interesting to the audiences of certain media. These are few and far between. They may not be ready yet. Maybe their messaging isn't clear. Or they might be what I call a little too woohoo. So when I've spoken to actually somebody on the weekend I spoke to, it was really very hard to understand what he was doing, and it had something to do with how you view the world and how you think about things. And as I was talking to him, I just thought, oh my God, I wouldn't even know where to begin to create a pitch because it was just so on the edge of what we see as sort of normal, I guess. It requires a lot more work. So you have to make sure your message is clear, that you are clear, and that when you present it to media, they don't have to take a lot of time getting explanation and going back and forth with questions.
Yeah.
As a writer, if I was given a story and said, okay, I want you to do a story on this company or this topic, normally writers will set 15 minutes in their calendar for an interview, generally for a news story, something that's not a big profile. So I don't want to spend 12 minutes just trying to figure out what you're doing and then have 3 minutes to ask pertinent questions. So those companies, and they may not be startups, they might have been around a while, they just can't convey their information in a way that can be understood very quickly. So that's a lot harder to get them into media, and there are some media outlets that will take a chance, and maybe in that realm, in that kind of industry or topic, they're more open to interviewing people that are sort of on the edge of normal story ideas. But for the most part, people want things that are clear. They want to be able, they don't want to confuse their audiences, right?
Yeah, it needs to be simple and straightforward.
That's right.
It has to make sense.
It has to make sense, yeah.
Baila, this has been amazing. So where can people find you so they can find out, how can they get in touch with you so they can take your webinars, take your courses?
So if you wanted to take a course at Small Business BC, you can go onto the Small Business BC website and just look for my name, Baila Lazarus. And my home site is called Phase 2 Coaching. It's with the number 2, Phase 2 Coaching.
Phase with an F or PH?
PH.
PH.
Phase 2 Coaching. And you can also look under New Media Mastery. NewMediaMastery.com is where I'm now building my new courses for the fall. And that's where I bring in, beyond traditional media, I'm now expanding to teach people what are the tricks you need to know now if you want to be a guest on a podcast. What do you need to know if you want to have a guest blog? What if you want to contact a social media influencer and get into their Facebook stream or get into their Instagram stream? Each one of these gives you openings to tens of thousands of people and lots of publicity, but you need to know how to do your homework and how to reach out. So newmediamastery.com is probably the best way to do that.
Thank you so much. You've given so many nuggets and so much information and so many tips. It's so valuable. I think everybody's going to take everything you said, writing notes, and and for sure, I know they'll be contacting you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
So valuable. So thanks again.
Thank you.
And I hope to have you back soon.
Anytime you want. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.